Alrighty, guys, how long did you really think it was going to be before we started talking about Superman 2? We're talking about the DCU Superman 2, of course, not the Richard Donner original Superman 2. It's only been about 2.5, 3 weeks since Superman came out, but of course, we're already talking about Superman 2. Guys, it's not my fault because I don't make these segment topics. I just follow what's going on in the news. James Gunn is already alluding to the next appearance for Superman. So we're really not talking about Superman 2 because James Gunn has confirmed that while, there have been things asked about the cast and things that people have been talking to David Cornsweet and James Gunn about Superman 2 and the sequels, and I think David Cornsweet, recently confirmed that he is under contract for a second Superman film. James Gunn has actually revealed when Superman might be appearing next in a big role because doing an interview with Josh Horowitz, he said, and we'll talk about the exact quotes here, but he said that the next film that he directs for the DCU will indeed have Superman in a featured role. So let's dive into these comments here and maybe speculate a tiny bit on what this movie could potentially be. So James Gunn, like I said, was doing an interview with one of the bigger entertainment interviewers in the industry, Josh Horowitz, and he was talking about the next film that he was going to direct. So he says the next film he's working on is not going to be a strict Superman sequel, but that Superman is going to, quote, be very important to it. This is part of the exact quote. He says, quote, Superman is very important, but then, this is what he says, and it's not Batman versus Superman. And then Josh Horowitz asked, is it going to be World's Finest? Because everybody's been asking about World's Finest, which is basically a code name for a Batman-Superman team-up film. Not Batman v Superman necessarily, but Batman and Superman teaming up. And he said it will not be that. So we're going to squash that for now. I mean, it's definitely possible that down the line, Batman v Superman, or Batman and Superman, whatever it's called, World's Finest, or whatever they want to title it, is going to be a possibility. But it looks like James Gunn is not working on World's Finest, and he's not working on a Batman versus Superman film. And so let's speculate a tiny bit here, because there's not a whole lot to go off of, honestly. First of all, confirmation that James Gunn is working on another DCU project. We were getting hints that he was, he said pre-writing it a few months ago is what he talked about, so we knew that he was working on something. The question is, how far in the future is this project going to take place? And I would think, and first of all, we have to give the disclaimer here, that it could be anything. James Gunn could be writing a Condiment King film, just for example, something ridiculous like that, although Condiment King has been in the DC universe, not the DCU, but in the Lego Batman film. But he could be writing a film like that, and Superman could have a big role. Superman can have a big role in any DCU film that James Gunn decides to write. But let's think about perhaps things that make a little bit more sense. And to me, honestly, the very first project that my mind went to was Justice League. And I think inevitably, because we did a segment last week where we talked about how Justice League was very important to the DCU, and they're eventually trying to build up to that with all these characters, which of course it makes sense, right? When you're establishing the DCU, you start out with Superman, you want to get Batman up and running really quickly, Wonder Woman is going to be a big part of it, and then Justice League is also going to be the culmination of everything going on there. So of course, it makes total sense. Does it make sense for James Gunn to direct and write it? Well, I mean, stylistically and all that kind of stuff, you can disagree. But I think from the perspective of James Gunn, I mean, it's his universe, and he wanted to direct the first film, the Superman film. I think it makes some sense for him to think, okay, maybe I want to then, set the tone for Justice League and really have all these characters come together. So could this film be Justice League? It's possible. The one reason I might hesitate to think that it actually is Justice League that he's writing right now and he's developing is because it's a little too soon, honestly. I mean, it's one thing to say maybe he's just writing this over the period of the next 3 years because he's going to be super busy and then it'll go into development in 2030 or something like that. It's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible. But I hesitate to say something like that because while the DCU is going to have films that are totally different from one another, it is still very much connected. So maybe this is a film, if he is writing Justice League, that he is going to be writing over the next many years, but I find that hard to believe. So honestly, I'm not, as somebody who doesn't read a ton of comics, your guess is as good as mine as to what this next film could be. It could be Wonder Woman. He could be writing Wonder Woman, and Superman will play a very pivotal part to it. He also did reveal that Aquaman and Flash will not be appearing for the next couple of years, but who knows? He might be writing a Flash movie. So it just depends on what James Gunn wants to do. Obviously, like I said, it could be literally any kind of film, and Superman can show up in it, so we will have to see about that. Guys, what do you think about the news that James Gunn is already thinking about his next DCU project, and Superman is going to have a, quote, very important role in it? Let me know in the comments down below.